Good morning, everybody. Lee Brower here, and welcome to this week's edition of Meaningful Monday. I am grateful to be here, and I am glad to be here. You know, Henry Stimson once said, the only way to make a man trustworthy is to trust him. Recently, I was in attendance at a meeting of some of the world's most noted innovators. Innovators in the sense of on top of the exponential growth that's happening in technology, and in medicine and in science. And at that meeting, one of the most noted leaders there stood up and announced to the audience that in the very near future, our children won't be able to lie to us anymore. And he almost got a standing ovation. Everybody applauded and said, that's great. Oh, wait 1 second. There is something wrong with that thought. There is something wrong with that statement. My children, your children, deserve the right to lie to us. If they don't have that right to lie to us, how do we develop trust? How do we teach them to be truthful? It's one of our God-given rights, and that is the rights that we'll live and die for, and that's the freedom of agency, the freedom to choose. How else do we build that trust, and what role does trust play, especially in a world which is rapidly losing trust? Last week, we discussed the relationship between trust and gratitude. Remember, we committed to write down some of our commitments, our little commitments, so that we could honor them. How'd you do? I have to admit that I forgot to write some of them down, and I ended up contacting the people and say, did I make a commitment to you? It seems like I made a commitment to you. What was it? To try to help me along. And it wasn't perfect, but I'm making progress, and I encourage you to keep after it. You know, the most basic component of trust is gratitude. You'll never trust completely without it. You can have gratitude for someone but not trust them. But you can't trust someone and not have gratitude. So when you're building trust or you're restoring trust, begin in gratitude. You can always find something in someone to be grateful for. And then with that gratitude, you can begin extending trust. Trust founded in gratitude is a culture of immense momentum, possibility, and power. The increased freedom that generates that greater speed at which things can be accomplished makes an enormous, and it's tangible, measurable difference in prosperity, energy, and joy. True trust, not built on what we need is more rules or more regulations and more referees. It's built on the evidence that extending trust and creating a high-trust culture in which top performance is expected, brings significantly greater dividends for all stakeholders involved. You know, several years ago, we decided in our home that we were going to replace rules. We were going to do away with all of the rules, other than the rules of civility, the rules of law, but just the family rules, and replace them with agreements of trust. Because why? Rules are meant to be, fill in the blank, yes, broken. When our children arrived home on time, I have to say, I was not good at doing this, but certainly Lori was excellent at doing this. So when our children arrived home on time, Lori would make sure to get up and express gratitude for their honoring their commitments. She would conclude with, I hope you realize how important this is in establishing trust with your parents and with your family. What did we do if they arrived late? We kept it with them. It didn't become our problem, it was their problem. And so instead of saying thank you, basically we said, you must feel terrible to violate your commitments, to violate your trust. And of course, the first step to restoring it is to honor your commitment to the consequences. Now, it wasn't always that easy. I'm not trying to make it sound easy, but we were laying down principles. And as we laid down those principles, we believe, based upon what we're seeing today, that they stick. Emil Durkheim said, when mores or cultural values are sufficient, laws are unnecessary. When mores, cultural values, are insufficient, laws are unenforceable. So the bottom line is this: if we are not inspiring and extending trust, then we're not leading. We might be managing, we might be administering, but we're not leading. True leadership requires trust. As Warren Bennis puts it, leadership without mutual trust is a contradiction in terms. The preparation for this has been helpful to me. I'm hoping that this message is important to you. I'd love to hear from you on how you're implementing trust and extending the trust in yourself personally, in your family, in your business, in your profession, your community, and in this world, in our country. It starts with just one person and it spreads like wildfire. This country needs it. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this week. I look forward to talking to you next week. Bye-bye.